Are you looking for something yummy to bake this weekend? I highly recommend these Biscoff donuts. They're so easy to make, and I love that. I kind of call it my wacky cake recipe because it's made without eggs or dairy, which makes it super simple. I formulated this recipe to fit exactly a 6 compartment donut pan, and I also have a secret ingredient that makes any homemade donut taste like something that you would get at a baker shop. They're so good. They're so yummy, and they're just infused with that Biscoff flavor. I don't know if you're familiar with Biscoff cookies, but they've got kind of a cinnamony, spicy flavor, I guess I would say. I just love them, and you can find them at most grocery stores in the cookie aisles. So let's get to making them so that you can have a batch ready ASAP. So it starts with, I use a flax egg. This is 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed combined with 3 tablespoons of water. Just give that a stir and let it sit. But we're going to start with 6 of these Lotus cookies. I'm going to put them in a bag and get out a rolling pin. And we're just going to give it a light roll. You don't have to be perfect here. I actually like to leave some texture. Just give it a roll. Get out all your aggressions if you're having a bad day. There we go. This is perfect. See, it just took a couple of seconds. You can see that we've got some crumbles in there, but it's fairly well ground. I'm going to put that away. And so we'll put this in a mixing bowl. Here you can see the nice texture we've got. And I'm using here a mixture of all-purpose flour and whole wheat flour. This is about a cup of whole flour or all-purpose flour and a 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour. That way you get a little bit of the benefits of both. I've got a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I've got 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And I got a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, we're going to give this all a stir together. That way you get the ingredients nicely combined. You don't want a big clump of baking soda in one bite. Nobody wants that. And you also don't want a clump of brown sugar in one bite, although that might taste kind of good now that I think about it. So just give it a little stir like that. That's good. Now we're going to mix the wet ingredients. And what I have here is a 1/2 teaspoon, or I'm sorry, a 1/2 cup. I better confirm that. This is a 1/4 cup of melted vegan butter. I'm going to pour that in a bowl. I'm going to add that flax egg in there too. I've got, let's see, I think this is a 1/2 cup. Yeah, this is a 1/2 cup of plant-based milk. I'm using almond milk here. And I'm going to give that a stir. Now, before I move on, I want to talk to you about the secret ingredient, because the way that you get any homemade donuts to taste like something that you would get at a donut shop, there's a secret ingredient, and it's nutmeg. I don't know if you've ever made donuts at home. I would love to hear from you if you have, but if you add a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg to your batter, it gives it that, I know this sounds crazy, but it gives it that kind of coffee shop quality flavor. It's so good. I love it. And it's just such a simple thing to have around to make sure your donuts taste amazing. Oh, wait, I forgot one last thing. I am going to add, this is around a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. That just helps that it's going to interact with that baking soda and just give these donuts just a little bit more lift. So let's combine this all together and give that a stir. Now this is a nice thick batter, which I really like because it makes it so easy to spoon it out into the pan. I know some people like to pipe their donuts, but I really like doing it with a spoon because it's so much easier. So I have my pan ready. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I have my pan ready. This is a 6-compartment donut pan, and what I've done is just put some vegetable shortening around. And what I do is I just get out a simple measuring spoon, a tablespoon, and then I just spoon it in. I usually do a couple of spoonfuls, maybe 3 for each donut. And then if I have anything left over at the end, then I'll go out and spread it out equally. That way I know every donut has got something in there. And then I'll go back and make sure it's all equally distributed. I just kind of eyeball it, and it doesn't matter if they're messy on the bottom, because what really matters is that they look nice on the top. So I'm just gonna go through this really fast. I love the flavor of these donuts. I cannot wait to try them. So delicious. Okay, then I'll just scrape out the last part that's in this bowl. We want to get it all that we can. And now you can see it's a little bit thick in spots. And so what I do is I'll just take my spatula and kind of spread it around just a little bit. When you're greasing your pan, make sure you grease even around the center cone. That will help the donuts come out a little bit easier. Like I say, the bottom of the donuts don't matter. It's really all about the bottom, you know, what they look like on top. So this is going to go into the oven. They're going to bake for 10 to 12 minutes at most. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, or that way I can give it a check when that time is up and make sure that they're done. To tell if they're done, I always just, you know, touch the edge of them. They should bounce back a little bit. These are a couple that have already been baked. So this is what I'm talking about. This side looks kind of, you know, rustic and has some edges to it. But this is the side that we care the most about. And so we don't even have to worry about it, to be honest. In other words, what they look like when they go in the pan doesn't matter as much as what they look like when they come out. So now let's talk about the glaze. On my site, I use a recipe that's requires, you know, cooking the ingredients in the stove. It's basically a brown sugar kind of caramel glaze, but I figured out a way to make this even easier. What I have is 3 tablespoons of almond butter, and I'm going to combine that with 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Okay, and then I'm going to add to that a tablespoon of coconut oil. And I've got a little bit of vanilla. I'm just going to pour in probably around a teaspoon of vanilla. I like to have a good vanilla flavor. Now this is going to go in the microwave for about 30 seconds to melt that coconut oil. I just found this to be a much easier way. I mean, it does make the coating a little bit darker, but I like the flavor, and I really love how it just gives it that caramel flavor, and it allows you to add a little bit more of the Biscoff cookies on top that, you know, stays with the donuts. So let's get this out of here. This is perfect. Look at that. You can see the coconut oil is starting to melt, and the almond butter is thinned out a little bit as a result. So I'm just going to give that a stir. And it'll go back in the microwave again. And if this is a little bit clumpy, like sometimes almond butter, I think, is a little bit on the thick side and it might have some clumps, it's okay, because like I say, we're going to put more pieces of Biscoff cookie on the outside of these donuts. So if your glaze has little lumps here and there, it's just going to blend in just nicely with those pieces of Biscoff that go on the top. So you're going to be fine either way. I was thinking that we could talk about some things that you could add inside of this. Like, for example, if you wanted some white chocolate chips or regular chocolate chips that would go inside of these donuts, inside the dough, that would be delicious. I think cacao nibs would be really delicious as well, because they've got kind of a bitter flavor to them, but they add a little chocolate crunch. Some coconut flakes on the top. I mean, you could do any kind of toppings. I mean, I've done Biscoff here, but you could do coconut flakes. You could do, what else could you do? Chopped nuts would be delicious. Oh yeah, chopped nuts would be amazing here. Okay, so what happens when you heat this up is it starts to thicken. Do you see that? How I've thickened. This is just so nice. It looks like caramel, doesn't it? It's perfect. Yep, and it's got just the right amount of sweetness to it, and with the vanilla, it gives it a real good flavor. So I'm gonna just show you what you can do is you can just dip it right in there. Now, you don't have to dip it all the way. Look at that. How perfect is that? Or you can dip it all the way if you want, but I just like to kind of push it in there. That way my fingers don't touch that hot liquid too much. And just like that. Now, what I like to do is just get another cookie. And they're very crumbly, so I just kind of use my fingers and just kind of crumble them together. Good finger strength exercise here. Smashing cookies with between my raw fingers. You remember that commercial where they would get a beer can and they would smash it into their head? That's what I'm doing with cookies here. I'm just like, smash away, you cookies. Here we go. I'm going to do this again over here. You can do some that are chunkier and some that are just more crumbly. It's so pretty. I just love this so much. Let's see. Diane says, looks so yummy. I'm so glad you like it, Diane. We'll have to make some of these next time you're around. This would be good. Yes. I mean, when you have family over, I think being able to share some nice meals around that, surprise everybody with something really special for breakfast, like these donuts. I just love it. It's so good. Yeah, delicious. That's it. That's easy. So one trick I wanted to share with you is when the donuts come out of the pan, when you're trying to get them out of the pan, what I like to do is just kind of turn them in the pan. This is when the donuts, they've come out of the oven, they're done. Let them sit for a couple of minutes inside the pan so that they're cool enough to touch, and then slowly start rotating them in the pan. Once they can do that, then they'll pop right out. So just turn them upside down, the donuts come out, and then you're ready to frost them. I do think putting the glaze on pretty quickly, like within 10 or 15 minutes of them coming out of the oven, that is going to result in that glaze kind of seeps down into the donut. It's so delicious. Where did they go? Yeah, let's do this. Let's do the taste test. I'm so ready. That looks delicious. That is so good. It's got that light cinnamony Biscoff flavor throughout. You can see little bits of the Biscoff cookie in there. I can taste the nutmeg. I can taste that glaze, caramel flavor of the glaze combined with the little bits of crunchy cookie on top. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Monique says, can't wait to try this one. I'm with you, Monique. I can't wait. In fact, I am curious to hear from you. Have you tried making homemade donuts before? And if you have, tell me what it's like. And I also want to hear from you if you have not. What are the reasons that if you decided that homemade donuts are not for you? Why? I want to hear from you, because I think if you've never made homemade donuts, this is the way to go. You don't have to fry oil. These are healthier, and they're just so easy to make. You can just see I just made this in a few minutes. I popped them in the oven. In fact, I recommend once you get used to it, you can make a double batch. That's so good. Okay, so this is the recipe, and I'm so excited for you to try it. If you like today's recipe, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and let me know what add-ins you would be adding to your donuts. And also give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more recipes coming your way every week.